We have a housing affordability crisis in this country. Today, too many families are spending more than half of their income on rent. And that means that more families are doubling up, sleeping on the couches of relatives, or even sleeping on the streets. But you know what? You hardly ever hear about that in politics. That's going to change. We will invest in housing that's affordable to the middle class and to the poor.
A person working a full-time job in this nation at minimum wage still lives in poverty. It's a normalcy that's crept into this country where in every county, there is not one county in America where a person making minimum wage can afford a two-family home.
New construction in America has moved to the high end. So if you're rich, there's a lot of housing opportunities. But if you're middle class, working poor, or poor, what's basically happened is there hasn't been much new housing coming in. The government has backed out from what it was doing. And the consequence is housing is deteriorating, and at the same time, the price is going up. So what can we do about it? I'll tell you exactly what we can do about it. We can build 3.2 million new housing units across this country. Urban, rural, we can do this.
It's another thing we need to do is we need to put more resources behind affordable housing. I introduced a bipartisan affordable housing bill as part of comprehensive housing finance reform that would put about another $6 billion, it was bipartisan, put another $6 billion out in the communities for affordable housing. So I think things like making housing more affordable, creating kind of a universal health care system, doubling the earned income tax credit, right? That's an agenda for working families.
If you're going to end homelessness in America, you know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to build low-income housing. That's what you're going to have to do, all right? But it's not just homelessness. You got in this country millions of people who are spending 50% or more of their limited incomes on housing. Now, how do you get by? How do you survive economically? You're spending half of your paycheck or your income on housing. What do you do for healthcare? What do you do for food? What do you do for transportation? So we got a major housing crisis, and we deal with that crisis by building millions of units of affordable housing in this country.
On the issue of affordable housing and rent, I'm proposing that if folks are paying more than 30% of their income in rent plus utilities, they should get up to a $6,000 tax credit so they can afford to get through each month. I'm proposing that no American family should have to work more, and no person should have to work more than one job to be able to put food on the table and pay the bills.
Yeah. The idea is that we need to make a real investment in housing. In the same way that we think about health care as a basic human right, having a decent and safe place to live should be a basic human right.
We got to fully fund housing vouchers in this country. Half the people that are eligible for housing vouchers in America don't get those housing vouchers. Second, we have to build a lot more housing in the United States, and that's going to require much better alignment between the federal programs that you're talking about and local government's decisions on zoning.
So there's a lot we need to do. Certainly as president, I would invest in trying to increase the supply of affordable housing, because right now there's a lot of NIMBYism where a lot of cities are like, hey, I love the idea of affordable housing, but if you try and build it around my rich people, then they'll get very upset, so I don't want to do it. So what we have to do is we have to lift some of the zoning restrictions on construction of affordable housing, and that would be a priority of mine as president.
I believe there needs to be some direct federal government intervention in housing, including incentivizing the creation of millions of additional housing units in this country, preferably closer to where people actually work, which might mean that wealthier people have to make sure that they're okay living with people who are not as wealthy as they are. And that might be the condition upon which we make federal investments in these communities.
I believe that we can build a country where no one is forgotten, no one is left behind.